Good morning. Today we are going to talk about term sheets and key terms. And there will be 8 videos associated with discussing those key terms. Today we are going to talk about liquidation preferences, which is your exit protection really. Your startup just got acquired for $100 million. You own 40% of the company, so you're getting $40 million, right? Right? Wrong. Due to liquidation preferences in the SPA, stock purchase agreement, you might walk away with nothing, while investors might end up with everything. This is a very important term sheet clause that can completely wipe out the founder's equity. So I'm going to talk about this in more detail. It's a very, very important element. I'm a finance exec and I've analyzed many term sheets over the last 30 years through valuation studies and with attorneys. And I've found that the liquidation preferences is the most important element because it determines who gets paid first and how much when your company exits. Most founders, they focus on valuation and they ignore the liquidation preferences. And that's a huge mistake. So we'll talk about liquidation preferences again in more detail. Liquidation preferences, they control the waterfall of money when your company is sold or liquidated. And what does that mean? What is the basic structure? Think of it as a line at the bank. A liquidation preference, it determines who is first in line to get paid. Generally, the standard term is 1x, non-participating preferred. And here's how it works. So let's say an investor, they put in $10 million and they get 20% ownership. And the company sells for $100 million. So the investor gets the better of $10 million, better of $10 million back or 20% of $100 million, $20 million. So they choose $20 million based on ownership. And that's cool because that's good because it's founder friendly and because investors, they're not double dipping at this point. However, if you have terms like 1x participating preferred, in that same scenario, investor not only gets $100 million back first, they participate in the remaining $90 million based on the 20% ownership. So now they are getting $10 million plus they're getting $18 million. So now they're ending up with $28 million. And founders are getting less because the pie is only so much because investors took that extra. And if you have a killer term like a 2x non-participating preferred, even worse. Investors are getting 2x their money back, $20 million. Or their ownership percentage in a $100 million exit, they get a guaranteed $20 million based on liquidation preference, and founders only get $80 million to split. So let me give you a real world example. Our company has just raised about $20 million in Series A, which is a very large series, for 25% ownership with 1x participating preferred. And if the exit scenario is, let's say, $60 million, if they sell it, the investor gets the $20 million back plus 25% of the remaining $40 million. That's $30 million total. And the founders get $30 million to split among 75% ownership. The investor has just received 50% of the exit proceeds, despite owning only 25%. So there could be multiple liquidation preferences, by the way. Some investors negotiate 2x, 3x, or even higher multiples. $10 million investment with 3x liquidation preference means investor gets $30 million back before anyone ever sees a dime. So be careful when you read those liquidation preferences. Only accept high multiples in dire circumstances. Let's talk about stacking and seniority for a second. When you have multiple rounds, let's say you have Series B, and their preferences typically now come before Series A, and Series A come before the founder stock preferences. This can create a lot of scenarios, like interesting scenarios where founders get nothing even in decent exits. And we'll talk about the participation cap, something that you can negotiate a cap on participating preferred. You can basically argue that you can participate up to 3x a return and then it all converts to common stock. This limits how much investors can double dip. So one negotiation strategy would be start with 1x non-participating. If they insist on participating, negotiate a cap. Avoid the multiples higher than 1x unless you're absolutely desperate or running out of cash or you need it real bad. Consider how this affects future rounds. Liquidation preferences can make or break your exit outcome. A great valuation with terrible liquidation preferences often result in less founder money than a lower valuation. Okay? It's much better to even have lower valuation with standard terms than very high liquidation preferences. Always model your liquidation preferences across different exit scenarios. Ask yourself, how much do founders get if we sell for 2x, 3x, 5x, 10x our current valuation? And always remember that non-participating is good if you have leverage. Participating is okay, but have a cap. So you at least know what you're getting yourself into under certain modeling circumstances. So I hope you found this helpful. We're going to talk about anti-dilution provisions. That's the other big piece that we have to be careful about. So we'll move on to the next video and it will capture more on anti-dilution. Thank you so much. Bye.